paid $5 to go watch USC Notre Dame play today, so I'm going to tell you everything that I saw from Notre Dame with their backcourt duo of Hannah Hidalgo and Olivia Miles, the weaknesses of USC, one of the key pieces I think that they were really missing today, and we are going to speak about Kiki Iriafen. Notre Dame beat USC 74-61, and the same thing about Notre Dame that we saw last year, I think they took it up another notch, and that is their defensive presence. Notre Dame punched USC in the mouth immediately to start this game. How their offense was flowing, but it is their defensive presence that will always be the reason why Notre Dame is going to win a lot of games. And they won a lot of games last year because of their defense, but you could tell that they've upped it another level. We could talk about Hannah Hidalgo. That is a seat belt. She's sitting on everything. It's very rare you see a defender that is able to go with that motor for an entire game, stay out of foul trouble. She made it hard for them. She is their anchor. I would tell a lot of teams on the scouting report, it's not necessarily about stopping the scoring of Hannah Hidalgo. It's about stopping her fire and her energy. The minute the game started, they get a bucket, she's yelling, she's screaming. They get a stop, she's yelling, she's screaming. She is the head of the snake. You have to take that fire away if you want to have a chance against beating Notre Dame. And because she had that energy from the minute the ball got tipped off to the ending buzzer, it's going to be hard for you to be able to beat a Notre Dame team that offensively is in a rhythm with their guards, Olivia Miles and Hannah Hidalgo. But defensively, that's where they get their energy from. Hannah Hidalgo had 24 points, 8 assists, 6 rebounds, and 5 steals in this game. She was one of the best players on the court, and I think we've been seeing that from her all season long. She is now in her sophomore rise, as we like to call it. You have JuJu Watkins, who had 24 points, 5 assists, 6 rebounds. Now, yes, the 24 points is nice, but when you watch this game, JuJu did not play great. She shot 10 from 25 on the field, and I think there's a lot of criticism when it comes to JuJu, and now people are kind of starting this conversation of, oh, this person's better than her, and nah. Let me tell you what. JuJu Watkins is still one of the best players in women's college basketball right now. But the thing that has always been said about JuJu is that she's a high-volume scorer. It's like a Luka Doncic. That's the best example. They have to get in rhythm, and they have to get their shots. They have to get in their spots. And the goal is for them to be more efficient with their shot making. But when they're not hitting shots, it definitely derails the entire offense because that's what gets them going. The ball has to be in their hands to have that impact. What Notre Dame did so well defensively on their assignment is we know that if she gets going, we're in trouble, so we're not going to allow that to happen. They double-teamed immediately. They were physical. I'm telling you, they brought the fight to USC. A lot of crying for fouls. A lot of people on the floor going for jump balls. They brought that aggression. So they smothered JuJu very early on in this game. She had to work really hard to get the ball. I'm talking about real-life face guarding her. Because of that, it really slowed down USC's rhythm, and that's where we start to talk about the offensive problems. He had 15 points, 5 from the field on 15 shots. Now, she did not play great. And I've said this about USC because I thought this was going to be a problem. And it's figuring out offensively who you're going to run your offense through. JuJu is the number one option, but when you get a player like Kiki who is so dominant in the post and can really expand the floor if you need her to, especially in the mid-range. You could pop her up to the key. You could have her in the pick and roll. That is what they're looking to do. But what you saw this game is a lot of stand-around basketball. Very early on in the game, they wanted Kiki to get going, and I saw that effort of them. But it's hard to give that effort when you leaving money on the table with missed layups and putbacks that should be cash money every single time. She looked out of rhythm. She looked out of sync. She was calling for the ball a lot, which I still think the guards are trying to figure out how to play with a big like Kiki. There are times she's asking for the ball up high, they're throwing it low. She's asking for it low, they're throwing it high. There's times she has the mismatch and she's literally screaming for the ball and they're not giving it to her. So I think they're trying to figure out this system, right? And I think it's easy to criticize Lindsey Gottlieb and say, well, she doesn't know how to work with a roster full of talent. And I would say it's actually the opposite. I think they're all trying to figure out how do we fit in this system? How do we not compromise JuJu going, but also not compromise that our big is calling for the ball and she's most likely going to have that favorable matchup every single time? That is something that I think offensively they're still trying to figure out. I think they should have more pick and rolls. I think Kiki is able to move without the ball. There's a lot of stagnant movement in USC's offense. A lot of stand around here, you get the ball, here you get the ball. Okay, I'm going to drive. Well, no, wide open spots. We're not passing the ball. Lack of ball movement was a problem with them. So I do believe they're going to figure it out, but it wasn't great for Kiki today. Now it's time that we talk about Miss Olivia Miles, okay? She is making a case for the number 2 pick in the WNBA draft. 20 points, nasty step back three. I'm talking about caught fire, all right? She could really do whatever you need her to do as a guard. She could bring the ball up and facilitate. She could play off the ball. Perimeter shots is what she said she was working on in this year, especially from the 3. She could pull up, drive, get to the basket in contact. She could do all the things. Now, LA Sparks' new head coach was in attendance for this game, courtside, as well as Cameron Brink and a lot of other LA Sparks. And I'm telling you right now, I was watching that LA Sparks head coach. When Olivia Miles started cooking, she was on that phone pretty quickly typing. Now, look, I could be assuming she might have just been checking on a family member. But I'm telling you, there was a lot of intention in watching Olivia Miles. Okay? I'm telling you that right now. That number 2 pick is looking like it's hers. And LA needs a guard. That is one thing that they desperately need. They don't need another big. They need a guard. And Olivia Miles fits that perfectly for them. She was cooking. That duo with Hannah and Olivia, man, oh man, it's scary if you can't stop it. Now, one thing that people aren't talking about is that USC was missing one of their best defenders in freshman Kennedy Smith. She's out right now after having a surgical procedure. I'm telling you, if she was out there, I think defensively you would have saw more aggression from USC. She's one of their best on-ball defenders. And she would have definitely been tasked with the assignment of either guarding Hannah Hidalgo or Olivia Miles, which would have been a little bit different of a setup. If you look at the beginning of the game, JuJu was on Hannah very early on in the game. And when your number 1 option is definitely having to guard the point guard who goes off of the engine, likes to get to the basket, they're going to make you work. That kind of takes that energy away from them when you need them on the offensive side of the ball, where if you had Kennedy Smith, she would have been tasked with a lot of the defensive assignment on those 2 guards. With her not being there, you saw that defensively they struggled. This was a very impressive win for Notre Dame. They shot 46% from the field. Steals, they had 17. That's a really great defensive showcase when you have 17 steals. And also, not to mention, fast break points, 20 to USC's 8. They play fast, they play with tempo, and that's something I actually want to see USC do a little bit more of, getting out in transition, getting away from that standstill basketball. But for Notre Dame, you're proud of this win. You go to USC and you sit there with the stars are all out, really rooting for the women of Troy, and you say, nah. Y'all about to see what we about too. They brought the energy, they brought the fire, they brought the fight to USC, and they ended the fight with this game.